Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here today with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David, how you doing tonight?
Good. That was a good victory by the Oilers. 4-game winning streak.
Mm-hmm.
5-2 win over the Seattle Kraken, a team that they've got to catch. You know, they really want to catch this team, and I think they should be able to catch this team. I mean, I don't want to say too negative things about Seattle, but they don't strike me as a world-beating team, but they have been beating the world. I mean, they just went on an incredible road run. So, and the Oilers got a tired team here as well.
Yes.
But excellent to see them beat this tired team in a game that the Oilers very much needed to win.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that was one of those ones that was a scheduled loss from Seattle's point of view. Their ninth game in 15 days in
Wow.
eight different cities, where the only city that was the same was Edmonton, where they started and finished that ridiculous road trip, because they had a 7-game road trip. They went home and they played one game, and then they went right back on the road the very next day to play Edmonton. That's brutal.
That happened to the
If that
Oilers
happened
earlier
to
this
the
year.
Oilers, I would be screaming.
It did happen to them earlier
Yeah,
this year.
yeah, and I was screaming.
Yeah.
I keep a close eye on the schedule and when it's unfair. Well, this one was kind of unfair to the Kraken, but so it goes. You still have to take advantage of those. And when I scream the most is when the Oilers get a team at a disadvantage and then don't take advantage.
Indeed.
Tonight they did, and they were full value for the 2 points and gaining 2 points on Seattle. They're still 3 behind, and Seattle's got 2 in hand, so catching them is not going to be any easy feat. But looks like the Oilers are starting to get their stuff together.
There's lots of time to catch teams. I mean, the season's just barely half over. So, I mean, the Oilers are at 46 games. So there's 36 games left for them. And that's a lot of games, a lot of hockey left. Bruce, let's do 2 good things each. 2 good things, 2 bad things, and 2 numbers. 2 good things each because it was a big Oilers win. What's your first good thing?
Yeah, my good thing, number one, is Foegele and the Foot Soldiers. I thought the down the lineup boys really brought it tonight, and not only that did they bring it, they actually got rewarded on about 1/5 of their chances, but they were actually able to bury. Or in the case of Warren Foegele, 1/6 of his chances, which he had several really good ones. He had 6 shots on net in this game by driving really hard to the net for a 2-shot barrage late in the first, coming out of the corner. The rebound was a really good save by Martin Jones. He got a breakaway by getting behind the defense and skating. He kind of deked himself on that play a little bit, I thought. But then in the second, he got down and dirty in front of the Seattle net and pounded away at a rebound, and from the seat of his pants, he was finally able to lift a shot off the ice when he wasn't standing on his skates. Everything else he had was right on the ice, and Jones just sealed the ice off. But he got that one up pretty good, and it's kind of a comical goal. And Louis DeBrusque is going in. By the time he tells his grandkids it's going to be a 40-foot snipe, and I said, well, if that was me and I was telling my grandkids, I'd tell them exactly how I scored from the seat of my pants in a National Hockey League game. So it was a hard earned goal, and I thought Foegele and guys like Derek Ryan, a couple of guys, who kind of had a second lease on life today. Because there was talk of one of them guys getting moved on out of town when Evander Kane was ready to return, or as a secondary effect, lose their spot in the lineup. And of course, that fell to Jesse Puljujärvi and Foegele and Ryan, who've both been healthy scratches recently, took advantage of their opportunity by each scoring a big goal in this game. With Ryan scoring the tie-breaking goal, cleaning up the juiciest of juicy rebounds and tapping home a 1-footer to give the Oilers a 2-1 lead, and then Foegele doubled that lead from the seat of his pants on the one that stood up as the game winner. And it was kind of a greasy kind of game. There certainly was any number of greasy goals. I said to you, I thought that the Fogle goal was probably the second prettiest of the night. And even
Yeah.
McDavid's sort of end-to-end beauty, there was a little bit of taint to that one, too, in the sense that Hyman and the defenseman Justin Schultz clashed skates at the blue line. I think the refs got it right. I think it was Hyman was just holding his ground, and Schultz kind of backed into him and tripped over him. But sometimes they call that, but yeah, I just saw it as, I watched closely to see if Hyman moved his foot in any way to trip him, and he didn't. And so, but it was not exactly the cleanest of goals when you have a forward coming down on two defensemen, and one of them just suddenly wipes out, and that changes the whole play. Well, anyway, it was that kind of game where all the goals were a little bit greasy, and shots that got through, got tipped on the way in, got tipped in, got shot into their own net. That's how Hyman scored the 4-2 goal, was by actually not touching the puck, letting Eli Tolvanen do the work for him.
That was so sweet. That was such a great moment in the game because the Oilers just needed a goal right after that horrible goal on Jack Campbell. But man, they needed that.
Yeah. They got that break right back, and there was not much doubt after that they were in the ascendant. They put it away. So shout out to those guys, and including on that list Ryan McLeod and Dylan Holloway, both of whom I thought had really fine games for Edmonton tonight. And the third and fourth, well, the bottom five, I guess you could call them, played pretty darn well in this game.
They really did, Bruce. I mean, I guess the Nugent Hopkins line. What was that? The third line, the second line? It's even hard to know, eh? The lines are so.
They were listed second. Of course, the stacked line is number one.
Yeah.
And then the Nuge is generally going to get listed ahead of McLeod, and then the fourth line has got two players on it. So
the goal, the fifth goal of the game was the prettiest goal of the game.
It's nice,
and that was the McLeod goal, because I just thought from beginning to end it was a fantastic goal. Philip Broberry did what a defenseman is supposed to do, going back into his own end. He shoulder checked. He checked over his shoulder, and then as soon as he touched it, he fired it right up the boards where a guy was waiting, because he knew he was waiting there. And Holloway made a very nice back pass. Then he controlled the puck, whipped it back to McLeod, who was cranking it up and charged up the ice, put it over to Hyman, who takes it into the corner. And by then, both McLeod and Holloway are going to the net, and Hyman picks out Holloway with an excellent pass. Holloway puts it off the post, and McLeod puts in the rebound. That was a fantastic. That was like Showtime goal, a fast break, and a slam dunk at the end. So those are two of the players that you're talking about, unheralded unheralded forwards in Holloway and McLeod. Bruce, it'll be difficult. I think Puljujarvi's actually. He's been inconsistent this year. He's been considerably weaker than last year, according to the way we chart the games. Yep. He's been about half as effective as last year, if that. He was highly effective last year. That said, he was highly effective last year. Hasn't got it going on, but he's been inconsistent. He's had good games. He's had bad games. He's looked to me more confident at times, making plays with the puck recently. So I wasn't surprised to see him out. I wouldn't have been surprised if he had been waived, if they had gone that route. Or actually, I would have been surprised if they had waived Puljujarvi. I wouldn't have been surprised with the other two guys. But anyway, we'll see what happens. They've got, as they say on the broadcast, internal competition for the jobs now, which is actually really huge. I mean, people really do have to apply themselves and work hard, and otherwise they're not going to be in the lineup. So we'll see what we'll see what happens with Puljujarvi, but I can't imagine them making a change for next game, because that lineup really cooked.
Right, and in my defense, when I sent you the note about Fogel's goal being the second prettiest, the score was still 4-2, and then that last goal came later.
Fair enough.
I love that play by Broberg, and he made two passes in a row, one around behind the net, and then the second time, like you say, he did that shoulder check and whipped it up the wall. So
he's looking slick, Bruce. He's looking Clefbaum-esque, dare I say, out there. All right, my first good thing is it is Seattle. You never know who's going to win at the start. It's indeterminate. And Seattle came out and they got an early power play goal, and it's looking bad for the Oilers. Foegele then Fogel's he had 5 grade A shots, Bruce. All of them were 5 alarm shots, which means that they're 33%ers, like right in tight and excellent shots. Anyway, he had his first foray and was stymied. But the Oilers are down 1 early in the game. If they get down another, like that's really hard for any team to come back from 2 goals in the NHL. So they got to get the next goal. And Connor McDavid had a kind of a weird start to the game. He had been part of the general kind of lack of cohesion, out of syncness on the team. He had been muffing offensive plays. He had muffed a couple of them where on plays where you think he's just going to slice the other team wide open, and he failed to do so. And then he goes back and he gets the puck, and he went through the entire opposing team. And initially, before I knew that Justin Schultz had been taken out by Hyman, inadvertently, I think it was inadvertently, it looked like McDavid's speed was such that the player just kind of blew up. As McDavid went by, he got caught in the jet stream.
Yeah, exactly. Knocked off his feet.
He got tossed to the side, or he flopped to the ice in panic. It looked like one of those two things. Now we know why Justin Schultz wiped out. I mean, Hyman did take him out. But that was a fantastic rush by Connor McDavid. And his shot was equally fantastic. He is just he's such a pleasure to watch, and that goal reminded us all of exactly what he brings just about night in, night out. There's maybe 1 in 10 games where he's a bit off, but what a player.
Yeah, he likes. I mean, that was his only point of the game, as happenstance had it. He rang one off the post. The unassisted goal by Hyman that Tolvanen poked in was actually, he was set up right in the slot by Draisaitl and McDavid. But they wound up. I thought they might get a hometown discount on that one, but didn't happen. But they were. I thought the first 2 power plays were terrible, to be honest.
They were.
And then the third one, they really dialed it up, but they couldn't get it in. But the first one in particular was just brutal. They were just out of sync for the entire 2 minutes. And it was, I was wondering if this hometown arena, so something in the water here or something I heard. And because they didn't look anything like, for maybe the first 5 minutes of the game, they didn't look anything like the team that had won those 3 straight road games. And then McDavid got that one, and from there on, it was game on. And this game, it was a hell of a battle. The physicality in this game was really intense, and look at that, hits 43-36 for Seattle, and it was heavy going in all areas of the ice, and players taking it back and giving back some more, and it was some pretty rugged going there. Seattle didn't go down without a fight. They didn't have a whole lot of juice, but they sure didn't just roll over. No. So well, Bruce, it was a battle.
Let me do my second good thing here, because it's in chronological order, because I think one of the things that turned around this game was the defensive play of Leon Draisaitl. And in the first period, especially, I noted twice he came rocketing back on uneven rushes, and he broke up 2 of them. And I noticed him in the defensive zone consistently taking the man, playing the body. He went full Mark Messier on Carson Soucy late in the second period, cross-checking Soucy into the boards in retaliation. And this was also typical of Messier. He wasn't necessarily the instigator, but if you provoked Messier, he would make you pay you were paying the iron price for Mark Messier, and that's what happened with Draisaitl cross-checking Soucy, just full Messier on that one, and I completely approve. Desharnais did the same. They actually, there's a replay during the game, Desharnais battling one of these Seattle forwards and just giving it to him. And man, with that replay, there's a certain percentage of Oilers fans who just love physical play. And you and I are kind of among them. in our own way. But there's a certain percentage who really just rate the players on that. And if they don't have that, they don't have nothing.
Right.
And they're going to be liking Vinny the Giant just about now, because he's one tough customer out on the ice. Anyway, Draisaitl's defensive play, all game long, I noticed he didn't. So he kept a clean sheet at even strength, not one mistake on a grade A shot against. I really like him on the wing at this point. I do think that he is ailing a little bit. I'm not exactly sure what, but I think they should, generally speaking, keep him and McDavid together, or put him in with McLeod at center, and let him do his thing on the attack at even strength. But when he does chip in like that defensively, the Oilers are a different team. They are. It's just one indication they're going to be completely dialed in their own zone, and you can see that. I mean, they allowed only 2 5-alarm scoring chance shots, so that's outstanding work from the Oilers.
Yeah, Natural Stat Trick had high danger chances at 19-3 for Edmonton, including 15-2 at 5-on-5.
It was stomping in a lot of ways.
In many ways, yeah. I remember one sequence of Leon. This was actually in the offensive zone behind the Seattle net in the second period.
This is the Susie one I was talking about.
Where Susie. Oh, he just crunched him with a clean hit, and then 2 other guys came in, and they both kind of gave him the cross check, gave him the lumber in the back. And Leon's just, enough of this, and he just folded the guy, I think it was Susie, up with just a vicious cross check. Couldn't believe it wasn't called. Just folded him like a cheap lawn chair, and it's behind the net. And I heard the "hey" go up, and then the puck was, they won the puck battle, and the puck was up and gone. It was like, just don't mess with this guy. It's keyword mess.
Well, that's what I was saying. This was that you were looking at stats when I was talking about this, but this was the full. This is when he went full Messier.
Yes, I heard. Yes, I was somewhat distracted. You're right. I was looking at some of the stats, including of my second good thing, which is Edmonton's 3 young defensemen. I thought they had a very strong game tonight. The pairing of Philip Broberry and Evan Bouchard just kept things really clean in their own end of the ice, and they kept the puck moving north. They didn't have any sort of real great contributions to offense other than they got the puck going in the right direction. And as you pointed out on that 5-2 goal, because all 3 forwards eventually touched the puck, there was no points to be had for the guys on the back end that were responsible for moving it north in the first place. But move it north they did, and just terrific numbers. I mean, for Bouchard, for instance, 12-6 in shots on net, 8-0 in high danger chances, 3-0 in goals, and for Broberry, 4-0 in goals, and both of them just, the puck spent not very much time in Edmonton's end, and I just thought they showed their skills at skating and moving the puck and making pretty good decisions with it. And then, of course, the third young D-man is Vincent DeHarnay. He only played 9 minutes and 50 seconds tonight, so a little bit less than he did on the road trip. But he was, I thought, mostly solid, certainly very, very tough. He took 2 penalties. One was for elbowing a guy that he wasn't even looking at, where apparently, even though he's 6'7", he needs to keep his elbows below the crossbar somehow. And if he accidentally bops some guy in the nose with one, it's a penalty. And I guess they're going to call it, but we don't have to like it. But the other one, where the guy was going right to the net, and he just chopped him and took the scoring chance away. And I'd take that penalty 10 times out of 10, where the guy was fairly likely to score, more likely to score than the power play was. And at that point in the game, the only thing you really don't want to have is a quick goal, right? If they take a power play and it takes them 30 or 45 seconds to score, well, the clock was winding down and not all that extra time. In the end, they didn't score at all, but I didn't mind that. But I just liked his I like his mental approach to the game. I mean, that replay they showed of him doing the eyes around. Did you see that? When he was just switching his, like he was pretending it was a
Yeah.
game, and he was just had his eyes going in all these different directions. And at the end of it, the puck came to his stick, and he visualized us receiving and making a pass. And I thought, there's a guy who's really got his head in the game, and it shows. Like during the game, like he seems to be aware of where people are, where his opponents are, and tonight he even earned well, I won't call it a cheap assist, but he fired a shot from outside into a screen. It got deflected. The goalie couldn't handle the rebound, and there you go. And I think that's his second point already.
Yeah,
So
that was a
nice
semi-Californian, Bruce. And Bouchard, I want to highlight one offensive play that he made, because that critical third goal by Fogle, that he scored from his back, slamming in the net. It only came about, like, he made a great play, but Draisaitl made a great cross ice pass to Hyman as part of the virtuous cycle. But the key pass was the first one. Bouchard got the puck at his own blue line and just zipped the puck diagonally, cross ice, blue line to blue line, defensive blue line to offensive blue line to Draisaitl, and that's when Draisaitl broke in. If Bouchard doesn't have his head up, doesn't make that execute that fine pass, there's no goal there. So that's Evan Bouchard at his best. And I know, like, I've heard things like Evan Bouchard's had a rotten season, Evan Bouchard this. Bruce, I don't buy that in the least. I just reject that analysis of Bouchard. I think his offensive play this year has been really strong. He has been exceptional moving the puck. He's been the best puck moving the defenseman the Oilers have had in a long time moving the puck this year. And I think a lot of that is wiped out because he has been defensively inconsistent and has had he's had a really bad stretch. Not right now, but just a while ago.
No,
he was on he was at a bad stretch. He started off strong, though. People forget that. First 10 games, Evan Bouchard was strong both ways. He had a bad stretch on defense. So, yeah, you can say that he's needs to get better on defense, and he is. But he's their best puck-moving defenseman they've had in years. And if you don't see that, I just think, well, just maybe I would suggest watch a little closer, because that's what we are seeing with him in terms of his major contributions to grade A chances. He's the highest level we've seen in a long time. So
it was he who sent the perfect stretch pass to Fogle for the clear-cut breakaway in the last minute of the first period.
That's right.
That was a beautiful pass by Bouch there. He's gone 24 games without a goal, which continues to befuddle me. Like, to me, he's a defenseman who should score a lot of goals, that's in double-digit every year. And this year he went 20 without. He got 3 in 2 games, and now he's got another 24, and he's still stuck on 3. And I keep expecting him to unleash that Bouch bomb, and it's part of the game, his game, that's a little bit in remission. He's not getting the shots through. He's not picking corners with it. But his game is coming on. He just need, like last year, he needed the veteran presence of Duncan Keith to settle him down. This year, he needed the veteran presence of Philip Rogers to settle him down. It sure seems to be working.
There's nothing like playing with an old Swede, Put him out there with Lars-Erik Schuberg and see how that goes.
Yeah.
So that's what they've done.
There's a mandatory 70s sports reference for everyone.
There you go. There we go.
What a player he was.
What a player he was. Yeah, and now Evan Bouchard's just -5 all of a sudden, right? Like he had been getting into pretty ugly territory there for a while. But
we'll see tonight. That'll
help him.
I think he was 6-4-1 against in the first 2 California games. I don't even know how he ended up the road trip, but even in LA, he was on for I think all 3 Oilers goals in that game. And so that's starting to level out, regress to the meat.
This pair is ripping it up, is the truth. Like, they're really doing well. And we'll see, I think I said maybe last podcast or one before that, we'll see if this can continue, right? We got to see this consistently for not just 3-4 games, but 15, 20, 30 games. Like Keith and Bouchard went on that run. So that's what we're going to need to see from these guys. Can they keep that up night in, night out? and that's the challenge for them. Bruce, what is your bad thing?
Yeah, I'm going to go. I didn't see too many bad things that I hated on the ice tonight. A couple, I guess, obvious things, and you'll talk of one of them. My bad thing is the condition of Kyler Yamamoto, and in one sense, his latest injury has come at a somewhat convenient time for Ken Holland, in that it solved his big headache of how would he get Evander Kane back into the lineup, and uh, by being able to put Yamamoto on long-term injured reserve, which he's done. And of course, we don't know much about the injury and whether it's truly long-term in nature, but clearly he was going to be out for a while. He wasn't feeling right at morning skate on Friday at San Jose. They pulled him from that game. They pulled him from the next game. He was off the ice for yesterday's practice. And unfortunately, it has all the earmarks of the dreaded concussion-like symptoms.
Yeah.
And this is a guy who I'm not sure it's ever documented that he's been concussed. He took a wicked headshot in the Colorado series, missed the last 2 games of that series. And this year he got tripped into the boards during one of the preseason games, missed the first game of the season. And that was a point where the Oilers only had 21 men on their roster. And they actually went short a man in the first game. So, he was hurting. And then he, to my estimation, forced himself back in the lineup because they only had 12 forwards on that short roster. And as coincidence has it, the game that Kane got hurt was the game that both Kane and Yamamoto went out of action, because the Oilers called up both Costin and Janmark when Kane got, and they got a little bit of cap flexibility. And all of a sudden there was an extra forward. Before you knew it, Yamamoto was sitting out, and then eventually I think he did spend time on IR. And now this, so that's 4 different stints on injured reserve, or at least out of the lineup for injury-related reasons in 8 months. That Colorado injury came in early June. Now we're in mid-January, 7.5 months, and he's had a number of injuries. They're all undisclosed, and yet whispers you hear are concussion symptoms. Whiplash was one thing which is related. I mean, it's very possible to have both of those things at once. And the state of his game when he's been in there has been up and down. He had a few good games, and I thought he was finally coming around here maybe a week or 2 ago. And now this. And so it's a big blow for an important young player who's on a 2-year contract that scored 20 goals for the team last year. And at this point, I'm starting to have serious doubts as to whether he will prove to be durable enough to stick it out in the NHL. It's not that he doesn't have. He's a little guy. He's got a big ton of gumption. No fear whatsoever. But sometimes those kind of players in particular pay the price, because they go where angels fear to tread, and they get treated like demons when they get there.
The little players who tend to be durable have longer careers. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know how tall Theo Fleury was. I don't recall him being too tall, but he was thick.
Short.
And Martin St. Louis wasn't tall, but he was thick. And I think, one of the things that Yamamoto might have to do to stay in the NHL, if he can, is to get thicker, like to become physically bigger. He's not going to get any taller, but get wider. Uh-huh. And I'm assuming that maybe Point and Fleury just have fundamentally different physiques, or maybe it's just a matter of working mm-hmm. with what they had, and they built up to that. But that's what I think Yamamoto's going to need. And I agree with you, Bruce. It's really disheartening, and we wish him our best because he's such a fantastic hockey player when he's healthy. My bad thing is the second Kraken goal, which is kind of really odd. Like, the first Kraken goal was really, deflected and off Nurse. That was painful. The second Kraken goal, though, was super painful. And it's not just for the obvious thing. The obvious thing, of course, it went right through Jack Campbell's glove. I don't think there's a hole in there anymore. Hasn't he replaced the glove? Yeah. So anyway,
he's
somehow
working on a new hole.
Somehow he's digging a hole. Yeah. Anyway, he otherwise Campbell looked so
He had a
sharp
good
that game.
game.
He looked damn good. He was moving the puck well, confident in the net. He looks like a different player, Bruce.
Yep.
Like honestly, looks like a different person than he did from a month ago, and that is very heartening because it was getting down. He was down in the dumps, and so were the Oilers fans. But
Hmm.
he okay, so there was that mistake. Everyone saw it. Everybody knows that's an obvious thing. The play that I didn't actually, the play that I noticed, and I mean, obviously, the wasn't as bad. But there's no goal if Brett Kulak doesn't make the wrong decision. The Oilers are up 3-1 in this game against a tough rival. They got to kill off the third period. Yeah, you know, keep going for it. You keep trying to score.
Hmm.
Yeah, but don't make any rash decisions. And he kind of made one. The puck's coming around the boards in the offensive end, and he decided to pinch against two players with nobody back to cover him, and the two players got it out, and they got a rush because of that. Now it didn't turn out to be an odd man rush, and the shot should have was eminently savable.
Hmm.
Should have had it obviously.
Yeah.
Grade C shot for a scoring chance shot. But if Kulak just decides, hey, why am I pinching in here, right? Unless it's an obvious pinch,
Right.
why am I doing that at this point in the game when I'm and risking giving up an odd man rush? And they did give up a rush, and the other team scored. So just a little bit of game management there from Kulak. A different decision, I think, would have been in order in that position.
Yeah, it was a bit aggressive for the situation. I mean, you've got that 2-goal lead, like you say. To me, you want to go out in the first period, in the beginning of the period, you want to go through even a full rotation of your lines and just not give away anything. You know, just sort of consolidate the score and start working on that clock. Well, when they cut the lead in half after 22 seconds of a 20-minute period, you're not exactly working on the clock. And as you say, we didn't even score him as making a primary mistake because that's a goal that just shouldn't have been scored. But the fact that Seattle had the puck at all and even a shot at the net was in part due to that decision. And then I thought when he came back, he hustled hard to get back to break up what could have been the odd man rush, but he didn't see the danger man. He basically skated right past the open guy who wound up getting the pass, Vince Dunn. And at that point, when you got a forward trying to cover for you on defense, well, you want to go back and play your position in defense, but until you get there, you kind of should take the role of the forward and identify the open man and cover him. So, and a real hockey expert might tell me I'm all wet, but that's how I saw it at the times. I thought he overskated the lane, and then the pass came back across to Vince Dunn, who had a really good game, by the way. That guy is excellent. And he somehow managed to fool Jack
Yeah.
Campbell with the hard shot.
Bruce, what is your numero?
Well, I kind of got to go with Evander Kane. He managed to lead the Oilers in shots with 7, in
Yeah,
shot attempts with 11, in hits with 5. And I can't say that he played his A game or really even his B game, but even Evander Kane's C game seems to involve all kinds of action on the event summary. He's
yeah,
throwing his body around. He's shooting pucks towards or on the net, and he had. I mean, he wound up the night -1. The only Oiler who was able to do that on a night they only gave up 1 even strength goal, and he missed a couple of in close chances that were probably his best ones. But just his presence and his ability to sort of pile up these crooked numbers and be involved in the game and maybe tilt the ice a little bit in the process with the physicality and the just the volume of shots. And none went in for him tonight, and they might not for a while because I didn't notice one shot that I thought had anything on it. But he was just coming back and providing an element that the Oilers need. I mean, and we've all liked what Clint Costin's been doing there in the power forward position. Well, I like a team that has both. I prefer a team with a power forward on all the lines. So there's welcome back to Evander Kane. 10 weeks to the day. Amazing. And it was 3 to 4 months was the initial estimate, and he beat the short end of that by 3 weeks. So
he had a good game. I'm giving him a 7, just +1 for being back.
Yeah.
So Bruce, my number is related to the Oilers' dominance in the last 4 games. This has been their best run of 4 games this year. 4 games in a row. Now it is against 2 of the teams were weak teams, the Sharks and Ducks, but 2 of them are very good teams, Vegas and Seattle.
First and second in the Pacific.
So, and I'll just look at grade A shot differential. So the Oilers did have a 5-game winning streak earlier this year, and in that 5-game winning streak, the grade A shot differential in each of the 5 games was respectively 8, 4, 2, -1, and 10. So they had 2 games against the Penguins and the Predators where they dominated, and then in the other games were all very close. In one where the Flames kind of outplayed them just maybe a smidgen and had 1 more grade A shot. In this run, they've outshot the opposition in terms of grade A shot differential by first game 14, then 11, then 8, and now 11 again. So you're getting, if you get on average about 11 more grade A shots per game than the opposition, that's about 3 or 4 goals difference. And if I'm not mistaken, 3 goals. 3 goals difference. A little less than 3 goals difference, expected goals. So that's really, really good. And we'll see if they can keep it up, Bruce. This is an excellent run. I note that people were starting to compare the year that Woodcroft was having with the Oilers to the year that Tippett had last year in the first part of the season, where the team just had no traction and was giving up a lot of chances, and one bad thing after another was happening to them, and they were kind of treading water. Now, Tippett didn't get the chance to turn that around because he was fired and Woodcroft came in. But Woodcroft, it looks like, Bruce, at least in the short term, Woodcroft and his players, got to stress that as well, and his players have turned things around. And they have really, really tightened things down defensively. They have really started to thwart the other team on the attack. And that's fantastic. I've been saying all year long, there's one thing that keeps this Edmonton Oilers team from being a great hockey team, a Stanley Cup contending team, and that's their defensive focus and intensity. And we have seen that in the last 4 games, and they won them all, and they've deserved to win them all. So keep it up, Oilers. Good work.
Yeah, well, this is just for counterpoint, like I often do. I'll cite you the numbers from Natural Stat Trick. And they have in that same 4-game span, of course, the Oilers 4-0-0 with 1,000 points percentage. And they've outshot the other teams 165 to 109, so 60.2% of the shots. 69 to 31 in high danger chances, so 69% of the high danger chances. Simple math for that one. 64% of the expected goals and 73% of the actual goals. 22-4-8 against. They've just been on top of it. And they were just the one close game. As I say, 2 blowouts, but by my math, they played the 8th, 7th, 2nd, and 1st place teams in the Pacific. So, on balance, they played, they played two strong teams and 2 not so strong teams, and they won all 4, and they won the set of games by a very convincing margin, 22-8.
Yeah, I think actually the natural stat trick numbers they support. They're similar. They're similar. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Usually they are. They're never the same, or very rarely.
Because we're counting different things. Yeah.
But if the ice is tilted, it's going to show up in a variety of different ways.
There's one area where we show even more dominance in terms of the 5 alarm shots, which go in like 33% of the time on average. In the last 4 games, the Oilers have had 38 of them, and the opposition have had 8.
Oh.
So the Oilers have just they have tightened things down in the slot,
Mhm.
and that's where you win hockey games. You're getting 38 grade 5 alarm shots in 4 games, and you're only giving up 8. Like
10 to 2 per
you
game.
should win those 4 games, and the Oilers did. Some of them were a little close. At least the Vegas game was.
Mhm.
That was a very tense game.
Mhm.
But this game wasn't that close, and well, it was close going into the third period, I guess. But the Oilers,
My definition of a close game is if it's close enough for the other team to pull their goalie at the end of it.
yeah, fair
And
enough.
if that doesn't happen, and the Oilers have only won a handful of games all year where the other team didn't at least pull their goalie down the stretch. Like it was literally like 2 games until recently, the Pittsburgh game and the Arizona game. And now in the last week, in this current 4-game streak, they've had 3 such games. And, oftentimes it's kind of a no hope goalie pull when you're down by 2 in the late going. But if it's close enough to pull the netminder, then I consider it to be at least a, competitive game. Well, the Oilers have handily won 3 where basically both teams were playing out the clock at the end of the game.
Well, Bruce, let's leave it there, and we'll talk again on Thursday. Thanks for talking tonight.
Tampa Bay Lightning. Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.